when you're in a position of leadership, understand that accountability is very important. You must be accountable, whether before, during, or after. If you came into that position with hands soiled or some ills you've undertaken, you cannot be there to cause positive change.
Hello, viewers, and welcome to yet another edition of Transparency Files, ICPC's weekly television program. I am Hawasani Garba, your host for today's edition. ICPC operates on a tripartite mandate of enforcement, prevention, and public education in the fight against corruption in Nigeria. The enforcement mandate focuses on the investigation and prosecution of corruption-related offenses. Through this mandate, the Commission receives petitions, conducts investigations, arrests suspects where necessary, and prosecutes offenders in competent courts of law. Enforcement activities also involve monitoring high-profile corruption cases, recovering diverted public funds, and ensuring that public officers who abuse their offices are held accountable in accordance with the law. Today on the program, we shall take a look at some of the cases recently initiated by the Commission in courts across the country, otherwise referred to as arraignments, where accused persons make their first appearances before the courts. We shall also highlight some convictions secured by the Commission, as well as reports from our state offices. But first, let us join Joy Aja with details of happenings around the Commission.
Hello viewers, thank you for joining us. My name is Joy Aja with Anti-Corruption Stories. The chairman of ICPC, Dr. Musa Damu Aliyu SAN, has called on federal parastatals, agencies and commissions to strengthen institutional mechanisms for preventing corruption, stressing that sustainable anti-corruption efforts must prioritize prevention alongside enforcement. Dr. Aliyu made the call while presenting a paper titled "The Role of the ICPC in the Prevention of Corrupt Practices in the Public Service" at the induction program for chief executive officers, chairmen, and members of governing boards of federal government parastatals, agencies, and commissions organized by the Bureau of Public Service Reforms in Abuja. The ICPC chairman explained that the Commission's preventive mandate was as critical as its investigative and prosecutorial responsibilities, noting that corruption could only be effectively addressed through strong institutional safeguards, ethical leadership, and compliance mechanisms within public institutions. The program featured participation from several senior government officials, including the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, who urged public sector leaders to embrace technology and innovation in service delivery. That will be all on this segment. Transparency Files continues. Please stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
That was a very good business.
Yeah.
The furniture you brought was very perfect.
That's how we roll.
Because let me do you receipts.
Yeah. How much was it again?
1 million naira.
Okay, write 2.5.
Mbano. The deal was for 1 million naira now.
Okay, write 3 million. I'll give you 500.
Oh no, I don't do business like that now. Yeah.
In that case, give me back my check. Let me go and look for someone that understand business.
Take.
Your loss. Rubbish.
But it is only for incorruptible customers. What are you talking?
Now get that.
What kind of this?
You will just die.
No,
You will die.
That is the door. Now get out from here.
Rubbish.
Look, my people, make una only add money for original invoice price. That's not corruption. Say no, not in my country.
Stop corruption now. Corruption not in my country.
If you are just tuning in, this is Transparency Files. The first case we shall be looking at is one involving a former director of Finance and Supply at the Agricultural and Rural Management Training Institute, ARMTI, Ilorin, Kwara State. Ebitoye Olajide Moses, who was dragged before the Kwara State High Court by ICPC over alleged multi-million naira contract fraud and abuse of office. The defendant was brought before Honorable Justice H.A. Salima on a 24-count charge bordering on conferring unfair advantage, acquisition of private interest in public contracts, misappropriation of funds, and making false statements to investigators. At the arraignment, the defendant pleaded not guilty to all charges preferred against him. Prosecution counsel, Mr. David Nwazi, gives us the details.
Before delving into the case proper, the appropriate point to begin this conversation is that there is need to reconstruct the mind of the society on what corruption is. Anytime we talk about corruption, we look at embezzling of public funds, stealing, misappropriation of public funds. No, it goes beyond that. It's a spectrum, okay? And the spectrum covers ills in the society generally, whether falsification of records, contract fraud, forgery, abuse of office. So generally, so if we want to look at corruption again specifically, we say any mistrust of a position for private gain. For this particular case of the AMTI, that's in the law in Kwara State, is a former director of finance and supply, right? So the commission alleges, it's an allegation, that he used his position to confer unfair advantage upon himself. And so the allegation is simple. There are facts which show that while he was the director of account, he owned companies. And those companies were used to execute contracts for AMTI. Okay? So, and this span over so many years. So that brings me back to how I defined corruption when we started. Contract fraud. Okay? Where you are using a particular medium, you taking advantage of your position. Of course, as a director of finance supply, you will be throughout the bidding process, the award of the contract. So that insider advantage, he took that position which he occupied to ensure that these contracts were always, in fact, in some of the contracts, it was alleged, in some of the contracts, he took part in executing them. Okay, so when we talk about contract fraud in public office, we must always avoid. Corruption comes in when you abuse your position. That is, you abuse your position for private gain, personal gain. It may not be you, maybe your associate, wife, whoever. Okay, so these are some of the things which the Corrupt Practice and Other Related Offences Act and ICP as a commission, we try to see how we sanitize the public. We're talking of integrity. We're talking of transparency. We're talking of accountability. And so some of these ills, once they are shown, especially in public office, you see that there is every likelihood of corruption corruption having been occasioned. And so, and as a commission, we come in, we step in to investigate, then prosecute. The rest is for the court to take appropriate decision.
In a related development, ICPC also arraigned a former acting comptroller general of the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service, NAQS, Dr. Godwin Sunday Audu, before the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, over allegations bordering on corrupt enrichment and falsification of age. Dr. Audu was arraigned before Honorable Justice Binta Dogonyaro on a 3-count charge filed by the Commission. The charges alleged that the defendant at various times between January 1990 and December 2024 abused his office to confer corrupt advantage upon himself and falsified his date of birth in order to unlawfully extend his tenure in the Federal Public Service. Let us join our counsel as he gives us more details on the matter.
This is a case of this former director of the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service. Okay, the case is online. You can just go through. It's pending, so I will not go into details. But Another thing I want to talk about is, apart from this corrupt enrichment, there was falsification of age, right? So in public service, you can't come through the window and you want to appropriately fix the house in a way that is livable. The door through which you came in is faulty. He falsifies age, which the relation is that, to relate it is that, where he's supposed to retire, no, he won't retire. He will continue to earn public funds. So it casts doubt on integrity. So these are some of the things we try to sanitize as a commission in the public service, right? Don't forget, when I inform you that corruption also involves falsification of age, is a broad spectrum. So that's what happened. Of course, the case is in court. I won't want to comment so much, but these are some of the things the commission is fighting to correct.
You are still watching Transparency Files. As part of efforts to combat corruption and strengthen accountability in public service, ICPC continues to intensify enforcement activities through investigations, arrests, arraignment, and successful prosecutions of corrupt offenders across the country. Next is a conviction secured by the Commission against Mr. Harry Iloka, Managing Director of Alliance Boots Limited, over offenses bordering on forgery and making false statements to investigators in relation to a contract awarded under the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP. Justice U.P. Kekemeke of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Maitama, Abuja, delivered the judgment. The defendant, whose company was awarded a consultancy contract by the Federal Ministry of Environment for HYPREP, Media and Public Relations in Ogoniland, valued at 182,721,000 naira, was prosecuted for attaching forged documents to bid submissions in order to falsely portray that Alliance Boots Limited had previously executed contracts for the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigeria Communications Commission. ICPC Counsel tells us details. Stay tuned.
What happened in this case was forgery. Somebody said, how is forgery corruption? No. There are times, most of the time, forgery is corruption, right? Don't forget, I defined corruption in a succinct way. And the succinct way to remember is that you abuse trust for personal gain. So in this case, the defender you mentioned, Mr. Henry, was convicted. And he was bidding for a contract, right? And ordinarily, he was not qualified because he could not show past history of what he has done before. So in order to close that gap, he forged some documents. Yes, he forged some documents saying, I have done a contract with CBN, with NCCN, just to show credibility. So this also goes down to corruption because it had to do with integrity and accountability. So it was shown. I think that's the almost 182 million thereabout contract. So in order to put itself in a position that the contract will come to that company, he had to forge certain documents, okay, to qualify. And the court agreed with the commission in the prosecution, and they convicted him accordingly. I think that was commendable one because it sets the record straight. It lays a precedence, and it sends a message to the public that you can't be too desperate because you want a contract to put falsified documents, to do the process. So I think that was commendable, and I'm sure that going forward, others will learn from what happened to Mr. Henry.
Similarly, ICPC has also secured the conviction of Michael Kuyoro, a staff member of Ikeja local government, for his involvement in a visa fraud scheme involving forgery, conspiracy, and abuse of office. Investigations had revealed that the Ikeja local government official abused his office by generating falsified documents on official Ikeja local government letterhead. The conviction was delivered by Honorable Justice O.A. Okunuga of the Ikeja High Court, Criminal Division, Lagos. Let us hear the details. Stay with us.
So this case has so much implication for Nigeria today. We are talking about the Japa syndrome, and everybody want to Japa and all that. So in this case, it's still an issue of abuse of abuse of official position for personal gain. Well, just for a bit for a background, so a set of applicants wanted to travel using the Italian embassy because we got this petition from the Italian embassy, Italian High Commission, okay, that there was suspicious activity on certain documents were submitted by some applicants. And so what happened with the convict now, because it's a convict, he used the official letterheaded paper of Ikeja local government, right, to prepare, to give a backing to these applicants, right? Yes, of course, that's still what we call abuse of office, okay? Abuse of office. So that gave the look as if the council, the government, local is backing up, is backing these applicants for. And so when the Italian embassy High Commission suspected, they go to don't forget, ICPC has just a few years back started a visa scam investigation, right? When it comes to visa scam, generally, people who are too desperate to move out of the country do a lot of things, including sometimes approaching government officials to give credibility to their application. So what the message we are saying is that once you are in a public service, a position of leadership, understand that integrity is important, transparency is important, accountability. Do not use your position, okay, for personal gains. Of course, if you look at the case where you see that these applicants, it was a tit for tat. Do this and I do this, or So these are some of the things that in the society today, the ICPC has been doing from the background to ensure that. But if we don't talk about it, if you don't read it online, I'm sending my viewers now, just go online, Google what I've said now, the case of the Ikeja local government official who was convicted, okay? So you will see some of all the cases I spoke, they are online. So, but the summary of all these cases boils down to about three things. One, when you're in a position of leadership, understand that accountability is very important. You must be accountable, whether before, during, or after. You must be accountable. Number two is integrity. If you came into that position with hands soiled or some ills you've undertaken, you cannot be there to cause positive change when the foundation, like we lawyers say, you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand, right? So these are some of the lessons we should learn from these cases I have mentioned.
Stay tuned as we bring you reports from our state offices. Phoenix Akbolaha will be our guide.
From Edo State Office comes a report. As part of ongoing efforts to strengthen institutional collaboration in the fight against corruption and the promotion of accountability within public institutions, the Resident Anti-Corruption Commissioner, Barrister Adenikan Shogunle, FSI, paid a courtesy visit to the Honorable Chief Judge of Edo State, Honorable Justice Daniel Okumbowa, at the High Court Complex, Benin City. The visit aimed at deepening cooperation between the Commission and the judiciary, particularly in the areas of corruption prevention, system study and review, and the effective administration of justice. The Honorable Chief Judge assured the delegation of the judiciary's readiness to support lawful initiatives of the Commission and affirmed that any necessary assistance required from the judiciary in furtherance of the Commission's mandate would be duly considered and provided. From Osun State Office comes a report. ICPC Osun State Office has sensitized outgoing National Youth Service Corps members, NYC, on the importance of integrity, accountability, and responsible leadership as they prepare for life after service. The sensitization program, which also featured the presentation of certificates of participation and membership certificates to the core members, was organized for Batch A2 outgoing core members. Speaking during the event, Assistant Director of the Commission, Winifred Ingobro, urged the core members to remain persons of integrity in all their endeavors and continue to serve as good ambassadors of the ICPC in their various communities and workplaces after the completion of their national service. As part of its ongoing efforts to inculcate integrity and ethical values in young Nigerians, the ICPC Imo State Office recently carried out a sensitization program and inaugurated the Student Anti-Corruption Club at Boys Secondary School, New Owerri, Imo State. Addressing the students during the sensitization program, Mr. Onakpoberuo Victor delivered an insightful presentation on ethics, good conduct, and character development, emphasizing that adherence to positive values remains the surest pathway to personal greatness and success in life. The highlight of the program was the inauguration of the club's executive members. Mr. Ezekiel administered the oath of office to the newly elected executives and charged them to be exemplary leaders and ambassadors of integrity.
The enforcement mandate complements ICPC's preventive and public education roles in building a corruption-free society where public office is regarded as a public trust. The fight against corruption requires collective responsibility and unwavering commitment from both public officers and citizens alike. ICPC remains committed to enforcing anti-corruption laws professionally, lawfully, and without prejudice, while ensuring that all suspects are accorded fair hearing in line with the provisions of the law. Public office is a public trust, and every public servant is expected to uphold integrity, transparency, and accountability in the discharge of official duties. You can follow the Commission's activities on its social media platforms and YouTube channel for more updates and enlightenment programs. Join us again next week at 6:30 p.m. on NTA Network and NTA International. I'm Hawasani Garba saying bye for now.